everybody, and welcome to Fire and Forte, Laura Shimili.
Hello, hi Hannah.
I would really love to do an introduction, which I'm going to do an introduction, but also your background seems to do it really well for us. So yeah, what can demonstrating some front covers, some beautiful photography in 40 over 40.
Yes, indeed. I have it's my main campaign that I'm running at the moment, which is 40 people over 40, over the age of 40, which is a campaign about celebrating our years, our age, who we are at the moment, and doing it through a photo shoot. So with some lasting results that we can go back to and remind ourselves that, yes, we can be like this as well.
I just love them. They're so professional, and like you say, you can see personality coming through as well as confidence. Well, I did some research on you as well, which, as I said earlier, I said, I hope you don't mind me being so nosy, finding out all of these things about you. But I think what's so motivating is the campaign that you're doing, which was highlighted to me through one of my other interviews, because it completely embraces people in their 40s, which is what was the idea around Fire and Forte as well. When I dug into your life, I thought, oh my gosh, I actually want to interview Laura as a person. You've pivoted your career and your life 360 degrees, is what my research told me. So you studied journalism and then a master's of philosophy of economics in Paris. I can't wait to hear about that. You've worked in, excuse me, a law firm specializing in housing and social housing. So a really worthy and interesting, and I'm imagining relatively complex career. And then you changed your career path completely, moving your passion for photography to a full-time job that was your own business. And that was both to follow your passion, but also to spend more time with your two boys. I think the other things that I am really interested about is the fact that what you've just talked about is that your mission is to really bring people's personality out in front of the camera and to help them enhance their confidence, because of the fact that actually how you represent yourself is so important. And yet you might have all of these talents and skills, but they might not come out when you sit in front of a camera. And in today's world of needing to represent yourself online, it's super important that that comes across. So that is your career story, how you bring out people's confidence, I'd love to talk about. And then thirdly, your life around being a mum. So you've got two boys. I read about you talking about how you really believe in setting a good role model to your two sons. And also, to be honest with you, you described your husband as fantastic. And I thought that is very lovely to hear, because I'm sure that he is, and you've got two children, and let's face it, it's pretty hard, isn't it, raising a family and then still calling your other half fantastic. So it would be great to understand a bit more about your career, the 40 people over 40, and your personal life. How does that sound?
Lovely. Well, that's the whole brief of my whole life. I can certainly talk about all of that, but I'll try and keep it short and brief, and cover the points that are of interest particularly. So starting with my career. So yes, I started I'm from Albania originally. That's where I grew up, in Tirana, the capital. And when I was 18, I moved to France, to Clermont-Ferrand, which is a small town in the center, and then to Paris. And I studied there. I did my studies and I lived there for 7 years. So I studied economics, and then I did a master's degree in philosophy of economics and epistemology. So a bit of a mouthful, and it was my passion back then. I really enjoyed studying, especially the philosophy part, philosophy of economics, which is basically, it looks through the thinking over the millennia, over the centuries, of how economic thought has progressed and evolved, and how it is what it is at the moment. So I was passionate with that. I wanted to become a philosopher back then, but I did find the environment to be very male dominated and very stuffy and very complicated, to be honest, as well. So I thought, well, we'll pause this for now. Maybe when I'm retired, I can get back to that. So with my with that degree, I could work in policy. I was very keen on working on policy as well. So I worked in housing policy, social housing policy for a number of years, and then in the law firm in marketing. And then the circumstances happened so that my role became redundant, and it was a good opportunity for me to reassess and take a new direction, which was photography. So photography, I was doing it on the side while I was working. The initial passion for photography, the initial sparkle, started in Paris, in fact. So when I was a student from Albania, Paris was beautiful. The streets of Paris, the people, the culture, the music, the atmosphere. And to be honest, at the start, I was quite obviously lonely and coming into a new place. I did make friends eventually, but at the start, so I would just wander the streets of Paris, and I don't know where the photography thing came from, but I bought a camera and I started photographing the streets, the people, my friends that I made. So then it became a bit like my companion. I had to have the camera with me. I had to take photos. It was, I guess, my channel for channeling my creativity and whatever was going on in my life. So that was always there. And then from when I was in Paris, from Paris, I went back to Albania and I worked for the government there in policy. And then I met my husband, who's English, in Albania, in Tirana. So we had a bit of I can see that all the questions are interlinked and I can answer all of them at the same time, I think. So we met at a place called Serendipity, at a restaurant. So quite, unlikely really, because he's from Devon and I was just back from France, and just luck brought us together, and the rest, we're still here. We got married, we have 2 children, and I still call him fantastic on my LinkedIn bio.
Well done, bravo. I think Serendipity, the restaurant name, is just so incredibly apt, isn't it? Of course, that must have been, did that feature in the wedding speech?
Well, we don't do speeches in Albania, so that's
okay.
But it features in all the stories about how we met. Everyone knows that we met at Serendipity, and the restaurant still exists. So every time we go back, we go and have a photo taken at Serendipity with the boys, just to say this is where it all started. So very serendipitous, indeed. So that was my husband and the career, and then so the photography then came back. So we got married in Albania, and then we decided to come to London for a year. And this was back in 2008, so 14 years ago, and we haven't moved because London is great. is a place where all our different boxes can be ticked, in the sense that it's cosmopolitan, it's got different cultures, different languages, which is what I enjoy. It's got work opportunities for both of us, and it's a really good place to raise kids, we feel, because they also are living in a very diverse society, and it sets a very good standard for them, and it's a very enriching experience. So then we had our first baby, and that's when I started again with the photography. I had paused it for a bit, but having a baby, I thought, I can't miss the first moments. I can miss, the little fingers, the toes, the little eyelashes, eyelids, all of that. So, and then I thought I could also do this for other people. So I started going on to courses at this point for, actually doing photography professionally. And that was, so my eldest son is 11, so that was 11 years ago, and it's only 5 years ago that I decided to do photography professionally for other people, following that career change. And I thought, well, I'll take the opportunity I'll take this as a good opportunity and get off make a new start with my career and my life, and that's what I did. So I started my photography business in 2017.
It's really interesting how a passion was obviously nurtured, because you could have just kept that as maybe something that you did at uni as a nice memory. So throughout all of those years, how did you keep nurturing the photography as a passion and as a hobby?
Yeah, so I could have just left it as a youthful passion indeed, but I was quite still drawn to it. I did take part in like not exhibitions, but like competitions, like they would call people to submit images for, I took part in a competition about Tirana, photographing Tirana, the capital city of Albania. So that kept me going. And then when we came to England, to London, as I said, we had when we had our first child, I went onto this course, and then I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn more about how to photograph babies, people, because there's different areas of photography. You can do the babies, the maternity, you can do the headshots, more professional. You can do street photography, you can do studio photography. And I used to find the studio side quite challenging and fascinating, because it's quite tricky to understand light and to master light and to work with both natural and artificial light. So I wanted to learn. So I was always keen to go on courses. And I also did open a group in my area, which was photography in Clapham, which was for mums with babies that also had an interest in photography. So we did come together. I kept it going for like 2 years as a group. So it was a way to meet new mums, new babies, and then also talk photography, practice photography. So that was another way to keep it going.
That's absolutely brilliant. So today's the 1st of September, and I've kind of made a rallying call on Fire and Forte to say it's September. It's almost like a new term. Certainly if you're English, that's when the schools go back. What's that new thing that you want to do? What's that old thing that you could dust off and pick up again? And photography might be someone's passion that they might not know how to progress or to pick up a camera again. So just talking about competitions, classes, creating your own class, your own group, seems like a really good way to make something that's quite personal and quite solo into something sociable, and maybe see where it can go to as well.
Absolutely. And also it helps you with it helped me with the confidence side of things, in the sense that the more you talk to people about something, the more you internalize it, the more you accept it yourself, that this is what I want. And there's that accountability with other people, that you've said it, you are telling the world, that I want to do this, and you actually go for it. The more you do that, the more you actually do it, because that's what you want to do. You're just declaring it. And also people feedback to you, people might give you ideas. It's a brainstorming. And for me at the time, it was actually learning, because I had models, the babies of other people. I had the mums, they were great models, they were willing to do things. And we also invited professional photographers to speak to us. So they actually gave us tips of how to actually run a business, how to take the photos and how to run the business. So it wasn't just, at the time I didn't think that it was all of this, but it was part of a learning. So I would say getting out there for people that want, that have an interest in photography and want to do something more out of it, definitely doing it with other people helps, because you learn a lot and you exchange experience, confidence, learning and knowledge. And you give it a go. You never know, you might like it, you might not like it, but without trying, you wouldn't know.
Taking that first step, putting it on a Facebook post or something, and doing something similar to what you did, because in the end it turned into a very professional group. But I suppose at first you could meet some mums over a coffee quite locally and just say, this is what I like taking, this is the photography that I like, and then seeing where it goes to. I really like your point around, once you've declared it, you have to go for it. Is that a personal motto to you?
Yeah, well, it is. I, without knowing it, again, something that we do the things we do for a reason, and they lead us somewhere. And for me, that's how it works, because otherwise you just staying at home or whatever, being in your career that you don't like, or in your role that you don't like, and you just staying put, staying still. You want to change it, but you still have to start the change. And who's going to start the change if it's not you? So definitely declare it and go for it. That's my motto.
It's such good advice. I'm wondering where that came from, whether you've always had that attitude. Did you get more of that attitude since having children, or do you think now, because you've had some proven success, that attitude works, that you think just go for it?
I think definitely that the fact that I have tested it and it has worked has increased my belief in it, that's for sure. But initially, maybe what I would have had naturally, as maybe someone from Albania, who is a small country in a big world, I would have had the mojo, the motivation to do things. I would have had that. I would have had the the doing of stuff, the action and the doing. What I get more now, with age and with experience and with having children, is that you listen more to yourself. You listen more to your inner voice, your inner intuition, and you follow that more. Whereas in the past, I would have perhaps followed other people's advice more without knowing it. Again, you just look for the answer outside. Whereas now I know that the answer is not outside, it's inside me. And that's the added bonus of, being here now, being in my 40s.
Yeah, brilliant. Like you said, yeah, you've tested it and it's worked. So you can share that as a real life story. What skills did you develop over your career that then you've been able to use since having your own business? Are there some transferable skills?
Yeah. So I did work in policy. So policy and communications, obviously that's transferable because you still need to communicate with people. I used to communicate with stakeholders, with other companies, with other charity groups, or with MPs, or with local politicians. I did have a lot of that kind of interaction in my previous roles. But now I have to interact with my clients. I have to communicate with them. I have to communicate with suppliers, with vendors, I organize my own events. So communication is key still. So that is transferable thing. Marketing is a big one. Everyone knows that. And marketing has become such a big thing. And I used to work in marketing. So that is transferable, definitely. And my philosophy background, or my economics background, gives me the bigger picture. So I always have that. I still have that. Although it's very tricky when you have your own business to get bogged down in the detail and feel stuck. So getting out of that and going back into the big picture always helps. So I always try and refresh myself with that.
Great advice. Do you miss having work colleagues now that you work on your own?
I do. That's one of the things I haven't. Up until before this summer, I used to say that a lot, that I used to say one thing I don't like about my job is being on my own, but there is a way around that as well. And I am a member of a business group that we meet weekly. I run my own group in Tooting where I live. We meet monthly. And I have a lot of connections, and it's just a matter of me actually feeling up for it, picking up the phone, calling people and saying, I need to run past something, I need to run something past you. Can you hear me out for a minute or two? And actually doing that when I have that lacking of, when I'm feeling that, oh, my work colleagues, I miss them. I can still have them. I can still find them. It's a different way. They're not there at my desk every morning in the office, but I can make them be around me, and I am the initiator of that. So it's just a different way of doing it.
You sound very proactive, and I think that sounds like the right approach, especially with so many people working from home. It could get a bit lonely, but actually if you reach out to people either that you don't know or people that you might know locally, people are in the same situation. So I think that's a good thing that people can take away.
Absolutely. And it's we all have our moments. It's not like this all the time. Obviously I'm talking to you, so I'm being positive. I will have my moments when I feel like, I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to pick up the phone. But if I leave it, I will have that moment, and then at the end of that I'll pick up the phone and I'll do it anyway. So it's the ups and the downs, you have to actually do them and then get out of that onto the next.
We all avoid the phone call sometimes, don't we? We all screen the odd phone call, just not today, and that would be the benefit of working on your own. I don't feel like talking to anybody. Now, on to 40 over 40 campaign. There's so much that I love about this. So I'm imagining a lot of interesting people that you've met and photographed. First of all, I'm keen to understand your perspective on confidence and what you've noticed with the people that you've worked with and how you've brought out that confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. So confidence is a big one. And I think that's the main focus of my 40 over 40 as well, in terms of the confidence to actually give yourself permission to do something like this, but also the confidence in front of the camera. So the confidence on the actual shoot. We're all busy people, we're all working professionals or busy mums, stay at home. So everyone has a reason not to do things like that. You know, we all have reasons to just put it off. But the people who take the decision to actually do it, obviously they've done some work on themselves and they've gone forward and they're willing to do it. So that's the first step of confidence in, you know, for this campaign, is to actually say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to celebrate it. I'm not ashamed of being 40. I'm not depressed from it. I actually embrace it and I love it, you know. So in the people that I've done the work with so far, it's a real mix between the people who feel that they don't feel that good about it, but they want to embrace it still, you know. And then I've got the other side, that people are shouting about it. They're very happy, they're, you know, confident. The lady here, Anu, she's an example of that. She is, you know, super confident. She wants to shout it from the rooftops, you know, this is the best time of her life. But some other people are not like that. Some other people come from a place of for example, a stay-at-home mum who has been looking after the children for 15 years, used to work, doesn't anymore. The children are growing up, so it's time for her to do something for herself. And the reason she did the campaign was because she wanted to take that first step of getting out of her, you know, habits and her usual things and doing something bold that would hopefully ignite, you know, future steps, bring her closer to something else. And I think she's on track with at least getting started and looking for, you know, the next opportunity, getting out there, looking for jobs, applying and things like that. So it works both ways.
I recently spoke to a makeup artist on Fire and Forte, and we were talking about the importance of beauty and what that means to individuals and whether it is some lipstick. And she was saying, you know, have the confidence to put the lipstick on. You can wipe it off and then if you want to. But she said, do you know what I advise? Put some lipstick on to go to the supermarket. See how much you stand up taller and brighter. And I wondered if that's similar, because many females, and not all of them, looking good and feeling good are so intrinsically linked.
Yeah.
Have you found that when they've had their makeup done and they're dressed up, there's a boost of confidence?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. So I didn't often use makeup artists in my work before, but now I do. And ideally, I'd also love to use stylists all the time, because again, it's that the boost of confidence and the fact that you're using other people's skills and professionalism, and they make you feel better. There is no doubt about it. They make you feel more confident. You look at yourself in a different way. You find out something about yourself you didn't know you had. And that's extra information, extra awareness, things that are valuable and precious. And once we have those, we don't lose them anymore. So it's like you've gained a new, you know, you've gained something new, and no one can take it from you anymore. And it serves you for anywhere. It serves you for going to the supermarket, for going to work, for meeting up with people. It makes you a stronger person.
Yeah, I loved, sorry to cut you off there. I love seeing your posts on LinkedIn, and hopefully we can talk about where else people can follow your work. The outfits are stunning that you work regularly with a stylist and they really pick out the unique characters and personality, do they, for the people that you're working with?
They do, yeah. So that's the added bonus as well with working with a stylist. They will then personalize the look to the person, and it's about the personality, but it's also about the body shape, because we all have different bodies and there's nothing wrong with anybody, any type of body. It's just about matching the outfits and matching everything to that person, personality and body shape. So the stylist will find something that enhances a body rather than make the body look, you know, less good. In some cases people are happy to do it themselves. So I do a consultation before the photo shoot where we look at their clothing, their wardrobe choices. I call it the wardrobe audit. And I will advise them in terms of the colors that suit them and in terms of the pieces that we can wear on the day. And I always say, try something new, because that will make you feel, you know, different. And most of the time people have ideas, you know, women or men, they know, what suits them, so they will bring it along, but a different combination might surprise them. So again, something new has come, something new has been created.
That's amazing. And I'm imagining that you're seeing a transformation before your very eyes. To the point that you said about the lady who'd been a stay-at-home mum for 15 years and was finding herself. Do you see that transformation throughout the process of working with them?
Absolutely, I do. I do see, so normally when people come to me, they're all stiff, worried, they don't move, and I do a lot of I do yoga myself. I don't do a yoga session with them because it takes too long, but we do a little bit of breathing work, and we do a bit of moving, shaking, putting the head down, coming up again, just to get the body moving and less worried, less stiff, because everyone is so nervous of the camera, and the first reaction is to be like, are you done? And it's like, no, I can't be done like that. We need to move you. We need to make you feel good. And people, usually the first shots are, sometimes they're good, but most of the time they're not, because it's that first, the first 15-20 minutes are the warm-up. And then by the end, normally the photo shoot takes a good 1 hour to 2 hours. So by the end, people have loosened up, and we've, chatted, we've talked about things, about life, about their children, their travels, their dreams, their plans. And by the time, they just so confident and so relaxed that it's like a different person completely. And people have commented to say many times that, it's very, very, I felt very relaxed. I felt inspired. I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel worried. And I actually could see that I'm, the lady in question, she has said that I took the best photograph of her ever. And that was at the end of that process. And I almost had tears when I read that. I was like, this is what this is for.
It's excellent. I imagine it's someone looking at themselves thinking that's either what I used to look like, or that's how I see myself coming through. And maybe it comes back to having some self-belief and some self-esteem as well, that when you see that picture and you say, actually, I do like my smile, I look at all the bits of my body that I don't like, but actually I've had this photo shoot and I look all right, actually. Yeah. Have they kept in touch with you afterwards? Have you heard that? It sounds very much to me as though this could be a springboard to the next phase for them. Okay, I'm 40 now. What am I going to do now? I feel much more confident. I'm going to go and buy a new wardrobe because that stylist made some good points. I'm going to buy some of the makeup artist used on me. Have any of them kept in touch with you and kept you informed of their progress?
Yeah, definitely. So I do keep in touch with them, because as part of the 40 over 40 campaign, we also have a magazine. So the magazine, which is like a book, will have a feature, a bit like what we have behind my screen, a feature of every person with their portrait and a bit of their story. So in the process of writing that, I do keep in touch with everyone, because it takes me a bit of time to write the magazine, to be fair, on top of everything else. So I do get to chat to them, and they actually have commented that the tips from the makeup artist were good, and one of them bought the makeup artist did a hairstyling which was different, with a curl wand. And so the lady went and bought the curl wand because she wanted her hair like that again. And someone else picked up on the creams the makeup artist uses. So there's been a few things like that. So then, as well as the magazine, we also have an event for this campaign at the end. When I reach the number 40, we have an event in person where it will be like an exhibition style, with everyone's portraits displayed, and they will come along with one person invited, and then they will get to see again their own, but also other people's, and then connect and socialize. So they're all involved in this process throughout the time.
It's absolutely brilliant. I feel as though we should have a link up between Sydney and London, because especially because I turned 40 about 2 weeks ago, and that was, thank you very much. And my motivation was, I think what you might have come across with lots of people that you've worked with, but also potentially yourself with your story, is that I actually feel great, but also if I didn't feel great, and that's only happened over the last year or so, now is the time to make myself feel great, because we're 40, we've got enough life experience now to have gone through good bits, bad bits, and hopefully know how to therefore make the most of the years that are coming next.
Yeah.
And yeah, finding your fire, as well as, you know, what really lights you up, and also knowing that you've got the strength to get through things, are it's a very motivating age. So it'll be so interesting when you bring people together to see what kind of energy everybody brings to that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to get to that stage. So when we get to the, you know, the completion of the project, we've got the book containing all the stories, and then we've got the event, which I'll be recording, because you know, it will be a great thing. I want to do it again. I want to do it with different ages. So this is just the first one of them. But yeah, having those 40 people who have actually made that decision, you know, to start something or reconnect or, you know, heal, whatever the stories are, that will be great to get to that stage. And actually, yeah, I think I'll be probably very emotional about it all, but, you know, let's get there first and then I'll deal with that.
Well, you'll deserve to be, because it'll be such an amazing achievement. I mean, we were talking about confidence, and I'm supposed to be nosy about that. What's your approach to confidence? How have you needed to improve your confidence? Have you always been quite confident in career, life, etc.?
So my own self-confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think probably a bit self-confident from the start, but not in all areas. I mean, yeah, no one, well, some people might be in all areas, but I definitely, you know, not in all areas, and I still don't feel completely confident in all areas. There's still areas I need to work on, but I think admitting it, you know, looking at yourself and doing that scan and seeing, you know, what things make you, what things trigger you, or what things ignite you. Those are the things that are strong and inner, give us either inner blocks or inner strength. And once we identify either of them, then that's a great starting point. And identifying, accepting, and then looking for help if we need help, or talking to other people if we need to talk to, or taking the time. I find it's all a process. I, you know, probably I'll be different in a year's time. I was different a year ago, and I feel that, and I do a lot of work in terms of self-development. I've had a coach in the past. I do mentoring. I do have masterclass groups that, you know, we hold each other accountable. So I do all of those things, and they all help with confidence and with accepting, you know, and improving yourself all the time.
Can I just ask about that last one? Masterclass, we hold each other accountable. Could you just, that sounded interesting. What's the masterclass?
So the masterclass is, so I was doing it with 2 other ladies, so there were 3 of us, and we would do monthly Zoom calls, and we would talk about, we had a format, we talk about, and actually in my own group that I run, my networking group, we do that format as well, which is, we talk about our wins, so wins of a month. We talk about our challenges. We talk about what we need help with, and that's it. 3 things. First thing is we introduce ourselves. Obviously, we talk about what we do, and what we're doing now specifically. So that's the masterclass. So those 4 things: where we are now, our wins, our challenges, what do we need help with, and how can we help? And structuring it like that actually makes you focused. So that works a lot as a format.
It's you building each other up, that importance of community, supporting each other, but also encouraging each other and saying, you're really good, go for it. I can imagine that. Yeah,
absolutely. Because most of the time, all you need is just to hear that, you know, because you're doubting yourself, because you're thinking, oh, you know, I'm not going to do that social media post because I don't like the tone of my voice, or I don't like the look of myself, or, oh, this person will read it and she'll think that, and so on and so forth. And sometimes I will say that to one of my masterclass people, and they'll go, what are you talking about? You know, you look great. I love your tone of voice. I love your humor, or whatever the element is. And then just go for it. What is the worst that will happen? You know, someone will not like it. They will not even click anything if they don't like it. So it doesn't matter.
Exactly, and 95% of people will like it, and you forgot
Yeah.
about all of those people that really enjoyed it. Brilliant. I think there's some really top tips of having it. You've got classes all over Tooting by the sounds of it. We've got master classes, photography classes. We've got
Well, yeah, I mean, it's all on Zoom, luckily. All these things
okay,
can happen on Zoom these days, but then face to face when we need to, we go for coffees and things like that. So yeah.
brilliant. And you do all of this while having two sons and a husband. So how old are your children, and how do you manage motherhood, work, and what you need out of life as well?
Yeah, not very well all the time. I try my best. That's the bottom line. I try my best. So my kids are 11 and 8, so they're a bit more grown up now. When I started, they were much younger. And how do I manage? Well, I do ask for help. That's a key thing, or I'll even say I need to do this to my husband, and you'll need to look after the kids. So he's quite flexible like that. He'll do it. And I do ask family. My family obviously is in Albania, but I get them to come, and when they're here, I do ask them for help. I used to ask my husband's family, his parents, for help when the children were younger. Or even rely on the community around us. We have friends here from the kids' school, so I would say, can you have them for a play date? I have a call to make, or I have a shoot. I have a childminder who is very flexible as well. I can call on her last minute and she'll have the boys. So all these things, they definitely help in terms of managing the time and everyone.
Okay, and then so that's good to not think you have to do everything, to accept that it's impossible.
Absolutely, you can't. I mean, yeah, you either accept it. I mean, you have to accept it, because even if you don't, you won't be able to do it, and you'll feel bad about it. So the best is to accept it and then find solutions.
Yeah. And have you been surprised at the kind of mum that you are? What kind of mum would you say that you are?
Oh God. Well, depends who
Brilliant.
you ask.
Amazing.
Yeah, I
The
know.
best.
I am the best. Absolutely.
Let's be confident.
Absolutely, I am the best. If you ask me, I am. If you ask my children, probably the younger one will say I'm a very strict mum. That's what I've heard from him, apparently. And then the older one, I think he's got a more balanced view. I do look after them. I care a lot for them, obviously. But there's also the boundaries, there's also the example, and there's also leading by example. And unluckily, most of the time children don't do as we say, they do as we do. They copy the behavior. Whatever you say doesn't matter really, because they will do what you do. So when I realized that, I was like, oh damn, I should have spoken less, or used all that time with words less, and actually done things. Because kids don't, whatever you say, they're never gonna, it's not what you say, it's how you do things, and that's how they learn. So now I try and lead by example even more in terms of the discipline side, and the discipline is a big word, but the behavior, on the behavior side, there's always room for improvement there on that front with my kids, but there you go.
Excellent. I mean, they're at an age as well where you're shaping them, and I'm sure you're a fantastic mum. I mean, nobody thinks that their mum is not strict, surely, because it's counterproductive. You want to have as much freedom as you want as a child, don't you? So you tell your parents they're strict, and hopefully you'll get more freedom.
Yeah. It's a technique.
And then finally, we did talk about the fantastic husband, and the reason why I asked this is not to probe into your personal life and get all of the secrets, but what's your top tips for keeping a marriage really strong and great, especially when I'm sure you're busy both with parenthood and work?
Well, communication, again, that is definitely key, and keeping the passion alive, in the sense that making time for each other, and whatever you enjoy together, doing a bit more of that, because that's the thing that gets lost when you're busy with kids and work and careers and everything else, families, houses, travel. making the time for each other, if it's, you know, going an hour earlier to bed, you know, if that's what works, or going out for a meal, or going for a walk or a hike, cinema, whatever is the common factor, doing more of that. And yeah, passion and intimacy, I think that's always key, it seems.
It's an essential, isn't it? And then it becomes as though you're practical, your roommates, or you're running a business because that business is your family, but actually what drew you to each other in the first place and what makes you both feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for us, we do have taking time apart is key as well for me. I mean, you know, in my view, people might think, nah, you know, that's nonsense or it's counterproductive, but actually, because when you first meet, you know, all you want is to actually be together and you can't stay away from each other. But before, you didn't know each other, so you're coming from zero to all of that. But once you have all of that, you feel like you've always had it. So not having it for a bit reminds you of that first, you know, passion ignites again, and you feel like, oh yeah, I want that again. So, and then you go back to it. So time apart can be good.
Oh my gosh, you've nailed it. I remember listening to something that Esther Perel said, and she said that familiarity can kill passion. If you see each other, I mean, lockdown was incredibly hard for people, you know, because it was like, I see you every day, you're not going to be exciting and new, and by the way, those jogging bottoms are definitely dirty.
Get rid of them. Or your lockdown haircut, you better fix that.
I think that's really great advice, because then you feel good about yourself, you've had a good laugh with friends, you've been shopping, you've reminded yourself who you are, and then that brings a really healthy you back into the relationship as well, doesn't it? You feel a bit fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful advice, Laura, thank you so much.
And by the way, I found that the fantastic husband line, I was very inspired by that. A client of mine had that on her LinkedIn bio, and I did ask her that question too, and I thought, this is, you know, I feel the same, and so I'm using that as well.
We should just say to each other more positive things. Why not?
No, why not?
Hopefully he's got fantastic wife on his LinkedIn profile as well.
Yeah, he does actually. He's got no mention of me.
We need to address that.
We need to address that.
Thank you so much for this conversation. I've just learned so much from it, and there's so many top tips in it from you personally and also from the project. Where can people find out more about the 40 over 40 campaign, and all of your work?
Yeah, lovely. No, thank you so much, Hannah, for your time. It's been lovely to talk to you. So for the 40 over 40 campaign, people can find me on my LinkedIn, which is Laura Shimili, which is my name, and also on my Instagram, which is Laura Photography London. So that's my Instagram. And then my website, which is shimilimeers.com. Both my surnames, my maiden and my married, Shimili, maiden, Mears, married.com, shimilimeers.com. So on those three channels, I do post about the campaign.
Excellent. I'll share them on Fire and Forte as well, and underneath this interview. So have a brilliant day, and please keep us posted, especially on the event that you run, because I think that's going to be really good fun.
Absolutely. And whenever you're back in London, Hannah, and or if I happen to be in Sydney, you know, we should do a photo shoot, and you should be part of it. It would be lovely to have you.
Yeah, I'm wondering actually if we've got some time over the next 2 days. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.